So recently there were reports that West Ham defender Nayef Aguerd did not want to return to pre-season training after his loan at Real Sociedad and wanted a move away from West Ham. And also the fact that a lot of clubs in Italy are rumoured to be interested in him. The clubs that come up the most are AC Milan and Roma. Now, here is a video explaining what I would like to keep Nayef Aguerd, even after not wanting to come back to training. The rumours around the African Cup of Nations a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, it's been a bit of a toxic transfer, hasn't it? However, I think under Graham Potter, Nayef Aguerd would thrive. Yes, there were reports early on about Aguerd not wanting to come back to pre-season training, and I understand it. Reportedly, the final days under David Moyes were not very kind for Nayef Aguerd, and potentially for the right reasons. Apparently, in the build-up to AFCON, he didn't want to play because he was so worried about the competition. And on one hand, I understand that. You know, it's a big competition for the African players. However, when you sign for a football team, you have to play when the club needs you to play. You can't pick and choose your matches. That's not how this works. But I think him and Potter would get on really well. I think there's a system that works better for Aguerd, and I think we do have a really good defender on our hands. Now, when we signed Nayef Aguerd, I didn't know who he was. It was actually my mate Chris who told me, this is a great player. You're getting a really good defender here. And will develop into a great player for you guys. And in the first season, we saw that his partnership with Kurt Zouma especially was so strong. You could see the bond that those two had on and off the pitch. They were great. He seemed like a really good character around the ground. He seemed like, in every video you'd see him and he was smiling, he was hanging out, I believe, again, mostly with Kurt Zouma, but also Lucas Paqueta. And yeah, overall it was a really good signing. He helped us win the Europa Conference League, and overall we thought, great. You know, we've got two really good centre-backs here. We're set for a couple of seasons. Then unfortunately Zouma's knees went, we had the issues with Nayef Aguerd and the rumours with David Moyes, and the transfer just seemed to break down. And even when Julian Lopetegui came in last season, Aguerd wanted at least a year away from the club, and we loaned him off to Real Sociedad. The loan, from what it appears, went really well. There were even murmurings at the time of Real Madrid and Barcelona and other big clubs being interested in Aguerd based on how he was performing in La Liga. That doesn't surprise me, because in the small pockets that we've seen him at West Ham, he has shown promise. I just think the system that we were in didn't suit him. When you're going from the French League to the Premier League, it's a tough adjustment even before you have got into a new system. And then being in a system that doesn't benefit you, that's only going to make it worse. And this is where Graham Potter comes in, because I think Potter has a really good system for Nayef Aguerd. Now, if you look at our centre-backs currently that are senior, you've got Mavropanos, Kilman, Todibo. That's it. So we played three at the back. We have no senior centre-backs to come off the bench. We do have Caelan Casey, who is an up-and-coming talent, who I think will be really good for West Ham. And if we get an injury, playing at three at the back is going to be a bit tough, especially when you consider we have released Vladimir Soufal, who would play in the right wing-back position to allow Aaron Wan-Bissaka to play in the right centre-back position. And we've also let go of Aaron Creswell, who would also play in the left centre-back position to allow Ollie Scholes to play left wing-back. So when you think of it like that, centre-back is a position that we're lacking in. So on one hand there, if we sell Aguerd, we just have to put the money straight back into another centre-back. And there's clearly some talent here. Now, of course, the big issue is his way he acted around, you know, in the late days of David Moyes and not wanting to play for the club. And that is something that he's going to have to prove, right? That is something he's going to have to show the fans that, yes, it may not have been a good time. But we also know with David Moyes, I'm a big David Moyes defender. I think he went at the right time. But I also think when the fans were booing him and saying Moyes out, I wasn't about that. That isn't what I agree with. I think he did a really good job for us. Actually, David Moyes will go down as one of the best managers in West Ham history. It is just a fact. However, if you fell out with him, you aren't getting back on that pitch. I mean, if you weren't... Maybe this isn't falling out, but one thing I really remember is in the 22-23 season, when we had zero creativity in the Premier League. Yes, we were destroying the Europa Conference League, but in the Premier League we had no creativity, and the one player that's given us creativity was Saïd Benrahma. But because David Moyes didn't like Saïd Benrahma, he wouldn't start him, and when he did start him, he would get him off the pitch early. And you would hear audible boos in the crowd. Same thing with Edson Alvarez at the end of last season, when apparently they had rumoured falling out. He just wasn't in the last 5 games for some reason. And it seems that if you burn a bridge, David Moyes, you're not repairing that bridge anytime soon. You seem to have a lot of credit in the bank with him. So people like Vladimir Soufal, they've audibly gone against Moyes and then they've figured it out on the phone. I'm not suggesting that Aguerd wanted to figure it out with David Moyes. But I don't feel that David Moyes as a coach really cares about... He'll go, I'll use somebody else. I'll figure out a system that doesn't need you in it. That's how I see it. Whereas I don't think Graham Potter's like that. You know, we saw Nicholas Fulkrug speak out, and I know he didn't start the next couple games, but also it wasn't out of the realms of possibility that he wouldn't have done anyway. He was coming off a long season of injury, and realistically was a good bench option at the time. And reportedly now, things are really rosy between the two. He's really impressed with Fulkrug. He's come back looking stronger, looking leaner, looking fitter, and Potter is happy with that. And we've seen clips and photos of Aguerd in training, and he looks happy. Now, I'm not suggesting, therefore, that means Aguerd's definitely staying. However, for a man that was rumoured to not want to go to pre-season training and now is in pre-season training, it's interesting, isn't it? Also, he appears in the West Ham YouTube videos and the training, smiling, talking to the players, and you could say that's for the cameras, sure. But I don't know why he would bother to pretend when they could just cut it out. It's not like the shots are on him specifically. They're not like, Nayef, please smile. It's just, I think it's just natural. Again, if the report was true about him not wanting to return to West Ham, fair enough. Right, that could be possible. But again, he's not been at the club in a long time. The last time he was properly here was under David Moyes. And we have gone through, we've gone through the Lopetegui era, which is a similar system to David Moyes, and now we're in the Graham Potter era. And even if Potter called him up and said, look, Nev, I really want to keep you, sometimes the phone call is not going to be enough just because of the memories you had beforehand. I think him being in the new culture with Graham Potter and being at this training camp may actually sway him. Now, I'm not saying therefore West Ham won't want to sell him, because again, we have to sell before we buy. But when I brought up our lack of centre-back options, we are just selling a centre-back who is pretty good to get in another pretty good centre-back who will have to then bed into the Premier League for another year probably, unless we buy from the Premier League, which means it'll be more expensive. And I just think this is like a square peg in a round hole. You don't need to get rid of Nayef Aguerd. He actually fits into a 3-back system really well. I think it would help him the way he play on the ball now, and it's a lot less demanding for him to be defending the entire match. We actually try and keep possession a bit more. So overall, I think Aguerd staying at West Ham is great. The question is, who else do you sell? I mean, there's only 2 players for me that come to mind. Well, 3 that I think will definitely leave West Ham. Put more in the comments. And that is Emerson, Guido Rodriguez and Maxwell Cornet. Now, how much they are valued, that's another thing. And now this might be hypocritical, but actually out of the centre-backs we've got, I would still sell Mavropanos. I think either getting a younger centre-back who can, come off the bench and get minutes and learn, or just get Casey as the 4th choice, that would be my pick. But, Potter might want to loan Casey out just based on the fact he's not had much experience in the Premier League, and that would make sense. I'm not against loaning Caelan Casey out. However, we don't have centre-backs to be selling. It's not the position we need to sell. The midfield is where it's really jumbled and busy and players need to go. Our squad seems big, but we also got rid of 5 players on freeze. And now we're supposed to sell before we buy. It doesn't seem right to me. Obviously, the good thing about the midfield is that we do have Potts, Orford, Earthy, right? And I think those 3 will feature this summer. I think maybe 1 or 2 midfield signings would help. But the centre-backs, we do only have Casey, that is like our big academy player. And that means we have 4. And I think 4 is probably the right amount. Again, but if you want to generate some money, maybe getting a loan for the season, Mavropanos is where you sell. And while he's still got some kind of value, because if he has another stinker of a season, his value is only going to depreciate, and you don't want that. It's not going to be good for Mavropanos, not good for West Ham. Then we're stuck in a situation where we may as well keep him because he's not going to sell for much. And I think this is the only season where you could really get away with Mavropanos getting sold for at least a decent fee. Aguerd was fit the 3-back system. I think a centre-back trio of him, Kilman and Todibo is one of the best centre-back lineups in the Premier League. I do. I genuinely think on paper our squad's actually decent. It's just about them adapting to the way Potter plays, Potter finding a way to make them all click. Because I think the issue is that West Ham last season, we did have good performances. I think it was really annoying whenever we'd hear Graham Potter for the first little bit of his time, because we would do well for 85 minutes and we'd concede on 88th and Potter would go, yeah, it was a great performance. I liked it when he kind of snapped and went, no, I'm tired of this. We play well for 85 minutes and then we lose it. And that's why, again, he's got the coaching. He's trying to bring in a new kind of vibe around the club, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do, and I really hope Nayef Aguerd is a part of that. Again, it all comes down to whether he really wants to be here or not, and I hope he does. I really hope he does, because he barely gets injured. He actually hasn't. He didn't get an injury all last season. He hasn't got an injury apart from that one time when he played in the preseason at Ibrox and got injured. I don't remember him having another injury post that, which took a while to get going in our first season as well. But when he did show up, he was class. And that's it. I think we can recapture that. He did really well in La Liga. And I just hope that he can do more for West Ham, because there is a player there. The main thing for me is that I just don't think we'll find better in the transfer window for the value. Because what we're going to sell Aguerd for? Because it'll be obvious that he wants to leave, so therefore teams will lowball again. It'd be really beneficial if he stays for one more year and then we sell him. Try and get that across to him. See how he does in the Premier League. Because if he plays well in the Premier League, his value goes up. You know, play well in the Liga, great. But obviously something must have happened, because all that noise of these big teams coming in for him, they've not materialised. And yes, AC Milan are a big club, but the money in the Italian league this season hasn't been fantastic. We need to make sure that we hold value. Again, the pleading poverty thing hasn't been good for us at all. It's made us really vulnerable to low ball offers. It gives us no bargaining power with the clubs, because if we don't sell players for the low price, they'll go, "Well, you get no money then," because they know we're desperate. It, to me, is baffling. But I hope Aguerd isn't one of the players that we sacrifice because of this. I think he'd be really good at West Ham. But I want to know your thoughts. Am I absolutely off my rocker? Is it he didn't want to play for West Ham after the AFCON thing, he shouldn't be here now? Is it he's worth a bit of money, get him gone, get someone else in better? Or do you agree with me that Nayef Aguerd could be a really good asset to Graham Potter and actually fit this in quite well? Anyway, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you guys all so much for the support so far. It's been absolutely incredible. And I didn't think half the support I'd be getting would be happening already. So thank you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy and bye-bye.